Back with breaking news. The U.S. Senate is poised to reject efforts to basically do anything on Obamacare. We can show you the scene at the U.S. Senate today. Long lines to protest the first and only hearing on that last-ditch Republican bill to repeal Obamacare. Susan Collins now, within the last 10 minutes, announcing her decision against the bill, which would seem to doom it, as we were just reporting moments ago. Today's protest is a reminder of how this debate is not just about politics, and that real people speaking out may be what saves Obamacare. Now, not everyone could make it there to the Senate in person, but they're getting heard in other ways. Take Laura Packard, a 41-year-old with a curable stage 4 cancer. She's a self-employed consultant who is on a basic plan through an Obamacare exchange. And since her diagnosis in April, she's racked up over $200,000 total in medical bills, but so far has only had to pay about $250 because of her insurance. Now, this week, President Trump's Twitter account blocked Packard after she made an appeal to him about her condition and the health care bill. The president basically announcing that he wants to disappear Packard's message from his account, and she posted a new response.
I know I don't look so good. I've been undergoing chemotherapy since May, and it takes a lot out of you. It's really important that you hear us, that you see us. We need the protections of the Affordable Care Act so that people with pre-existing conditions will be covered. We need somebody that will stand up for us rather than selling us out.
Many citizens are now sharing Packard's appeal online. But by blocking Packard, Trump, of course, has drawn a lot of criticism, including a legal challenge that basically argues that by blocking her, he's breaking the law. I want to bring in Laura Packard, who joins me now. She's now joined a long list, Stephen King and others, who have been blocked by the president. Trump's effort to disappear these critics, as I mentioned, facing this lawsuit. Ms. Packard, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just finished up my 11th chemo maybe a couple hours ago, so I'm glad to be here.
The president blocked you. What do you want to say to him?
Well, I find it both funny and really scary what's going on in our country. But what I want to say to the president and also to my senator, Senator Heller, is that 32 million people will lose their health insurance if this latest version passes, and all of us with pre-existing conditions are at risk. And this isn't something that anybody plans for. I certainly didn't wake up expecting to have cancer. It came as a complete shock to me, but anybody that has a body is at risk for various diseases or even just a bad car accident on the way to work. And that's why everybody needs and deserves affordable, comprehensive health insurance.
We have breaking news, as you well know, since you sat down at the top of the hour to join me today and tell us about your experience. Susan Collins announced that she is going to vote against this Trump Care 2.0. That brings it up to 3 Republican no votes and would appear to save Obamacare, although this is not, as you know, the first time we've had these fights. What's your response to that news?
Well, I think it's great news, and I'm glad that Senator Collins is listening to the people in Maine and the people around the country, because any given senator, they're not only voting for their state, they're voting for all of us. So I'm thrilled. I'm not sure I trust that news yet, because we've seen this happen before in the House, where it looked like it was defeated and then it came back again. Unfortunately, this bill is kind of like cancer. You think you have it licked and then it comes back. But that's why we're continuing to fight for this right through September 30th.
Totally hear you on that. I want to read to you something from the First Amendment Center at Columbia that we mentioned is suing the president over this because they basically have the view, quote, the president is violating the First Amendment when he blocks people from a public forum because their criticism of his policies. If the First Amendment means anything, it means a person can't be silenced by a government official simply because the official disagrees with what she has to say. That's Katie Fallow, an attorney there in that suit. I wonder your view of that, because some people say, gosh, there's so much attention on Twitter, or the president uses it too much. We know he uses it to pick fights. You were using it, of course, to try to say something to him. and were blocked. Do you have that view that this might actually be a violation of your free speech rights, the way the president is blocking you?
Well, I think as long as the president uses his Twitter account as a part of the presidency of the United States, making official pronouncements and so on, then blocking citizens is removing our access to a part of this government. So I think that not only does it show immaturity and strange choices to be spending your time playing on Twitter when a terrible hurricane is demolishing Puerto Rico and North Korea is threatening us all. I think it's an extremely poor choice of his time to be spending hours on Twitter talking about the NFL or whatever. But apart from that, as U.S. citizens, we should have access to his message, and blocking people because he's having a bad hair day or whatever, I think is wrong.
It's fascinating to hear your perspective, and you make it so clearly. I want you to stay with me. What I want to do is bring in Neera Tanden, who has worked for Barack Obama on health care as well as Hillary Clinton, and I'm also joined by the nation's Joan Walsh. Neera, I wonder what you think watching all of this, and if there's anything you want to say to Laura.
Well, I think Laura's voice is exactly what this debate is about, and the idea that President Trump would not want to hear from her or members of Congress don't want to hear her voice is really what's so insane about the situation we're in. This bill does harm to the healthcare system in America. It does harm to people. CBO just found that millions of people will lose coverage, and Laura's voice is absolutely the voice President Trump and the Senate should hear from. So the idea that he blocks her is part of one of the reasons why we're in this situation. Those voices aren't being heard sufficiently.
Joan?
The president is just such a whiny little man, and I salute Laura for her effort to speak so incredibly calmly and with such information to try to educate him, even if he can't be educated. I just want to add, I'm really happy that Senator Collins has come out tonight, but I kind of feel the way Laura does, that this bill is like cancer. It can often come back, and we've seen, you know, we saw it in the House. I don't know. I would love to see Senator Murkowski make it clear she is a no. I do not trust Rand Paul. He made a lot of noise last time around and then voted for it. So I don't feel that we're particularly safe yet. And I would also add, last point, Laura's senator, Dean Heller, is not only a voice or a vote for the bill potentially, he put his name on this bill. They named it, but we don't usually say the whole name, but it is the Graham Cassidy Heller Johnson for Ron Johnson, because getting Dean Heller's buy-in was so important to Senator Graham. It's just mind-blowing. He is the most vulnerable Republican senator, as well he should be. This is not going to go over well for him.
Well, Laura, go ahead.
And I have a word to say about that, too. As my U.S. Senator, I feel extremely let down. We know that he knows this is a bad idea because he came out and did the press conference with Governor Sandoval a few months ago and talked about all the ways in which this bill would be bad for Nevada. So we know he knows it, and so why is he now putting his name on it and trying to take away insurance from up to 32 million Americans and put all of us with pre-existing conditions at risk? So it doesn't seem like he's listening to the people of Nevada.
Right. Well, Laura, reading about and watching you online and the work you've done in sharing your perspective and your story, it's incredibly dignified, it's incredibly courageous. So I'm glad you made some time to join us on a busy news day. And given the lawsuit and given that there is this wider question of whether the president's abusing his power and his control over government resources to hear from people like you, I guess he didn't want to hear from you. We did. So I'm glad you joined us. And thanks to Neera and Joan as well.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.